Connor's Degrassi Unpopular Opinions. Hey there, hello there. It's Jeff Cutter welcoming you to another Degrassi Unpopular Opinions. You thought I was done with this series, but no. I'm not done yet. Thanks to the Degrassi Reddit community, I basically have found out there's a lot more evil stuff to be had. So the first of our outlook, these episodes for Prosperity are being created on March the 6th, 2021. So they'll be released at a later date, probably. But anyway, this the first one of the three things I'm going to look at was a Reddit post sent by Dirty Prancing 65 a couple weeks ago. It said, "Real talk, the ways in which the school really gets screwed up. I know we love Degrassi and defend its principles, but what are some of the things that really shouldn't have happened? Because they're true failures of the administration. For me, it's like no matter how many horrible things the kids did on the roof, they never locked the door. I count 3 suicide attempts, a drug binger, and many illicit affairs. Why was the roof was always unlocked? Second, what happened to Adam? A school-sanctioned camp of vehicle access by no adult supervision and no one holding the keys? How could they possibly allow a bunch of teenagers to pile into a van of young children, drive them out to the woods, no questions asked? For fuck's sake, Snake." And side note about the roof. Jake almost caused serious damage to the school because the principal let him do serious alterations without verifying permits, submitting proposal to the board, etc. How many instances do you think that Degrassi was negligent? Chestnut said lots of things, such as domestic violence, bullying, school violence. They really blew it with Rick. They failed the entire student body by letting him back into Degrassi after what happened to Terry. The administration should have known the bullying was going to happen after you're a popular student, and they should have seen this student coming with his history of violence and how bad the bullying was. Obviously, what he did to Terry was horrible, but he was a kid. Terry was his first girlfriend, and young men aren't taught how to handle the anger. His dad probably beat the shit out of his mom, and that's a hard cycle to break when that's all you know. But that didn't have to be permanent. A couple of months in juvie and anger management and therapy would have made him a different kid. Toronto is one of the largest cities in school. There are dozens of high schools he could have transferred to. A haircut and a new pair of glasses, and he could have had a brand new start for his junior year. Radich absolutely should have lost his job letting Rick come back. So basically, everyone talks about like how the administration screwed up allowing Rick to come back to the school after what happened. Now, to be fair, if you were watching the Degrassi stuff first run, and basically at the end of season 3, he's taken out of school and all that for what he did to Terry, and basically, it's like Rick got what he deserved, and he won't come back to our screens. And then he comes back. It's like, what the fuck? Now remember, people, in season 4, there were 3 episodes. Well, the first episode was a 2-parter. Yeah, and then the one episode that basically, Rick didn't come back, and it's like, okay, that's fine. And then Mercy Street pops up. It's like, oh my God, they're bringing him back? Now, bear in mind, this was at the same time as I was starting off in college, so I didn't really buy into the Degrassi series as much as I used to do. It took me, 13, 14 years to realize this, to do some stuff on it. But basically letting back to Degrassi, no strings attached. The students basically hated the administration for that. There's a whole lot of hatred on Raj for this. And, he deserves some hate for what he did. I mean, the best thing that Raj could have done was tell Rick that basically the school doesn't want to deal with his problems. Raj probably would have been worried that Rick was going to get what was coming to him. After all, I mean, the previous year, what happened to Terry and all that, he may have heard about that. Now, contrary to popular belief, Rick was not expelled. He was basically pulled out of school by his parents because of the stuff to do with Terry. But then again, I mean, Rick could have lied to his parents and basically got their sympathy. So basically, the administration really screwed up on this thing and all that. I mean, that's the major thing with Rick, is that he should not have been allowed back at the school in the first place. Now, it's nothing against the actor who played Rick. He did a good job, but it's basically the character study that's the biggest problem. I mean, Rick never proved to anybody that he had changed. I know that somehow he thinks he's in therapy and all that. But the question, but maybe he was in therapy and just the students didn't believe his BS and all that. I mean, Rick getting bullied because of the Orange Ribbon campaign for domestic violence and all that. And basically, Rick was they didn't take their foot off the pedal. Like, there were people who dropped off super bullying him. Like, when it came down to it, it was down to Spinner, Jay, and Alex to destroy Rick once for all. But then again, Rick retaliated against them, and basically they had good reason to beat the shit out of Rick. And also, Rick did the flashing the sign, Wakanda Forever. But the fact of the matter with this is that, Rick was a decent person when he had to be. Now, I do not agree with Chestnut about the fact that, his dad probably beat the shit out of his mom and that's a hard cycle to break. I totally doubt that. I completely doubt that Rick's dad was abusive towards Rick's mom. Maybe psychologically abusive, but not physically abusive. And, Rick learns all the habits and all that. I basically spent, I don't know if it was an unpopular opinion, but I basically spent some time saying that Rick's anger issues were not because of his dad, but because of how Terry seemed to go towards Jimmy, like gravitate towards Jimmy, and basically Paige, pissed Rick off to no end. That I believe in. I mean, his dad might have done something to Rick, who knows, but basically, I don't think that was why he had a cycle of anger. He was angry because Terry seemed to be with Jimmy, wanted to be with Jimmy, and basically Paige and the crew basically are telling Terry what to do and not go near Rick, basically thinking that they're poisoning Terry's mind, and then Rick does not like it that Terry is listening to those people more than him. So it's like, poison in his mind. There's a lot of things to consider about this. Is that, yeah, Rick should never came back to Degrassi and all that. But then again, it did actually change a few storylines. It basically made Jimmy more likable. It got character development from Spinner, who basically tried to stop being a bully and become a good guy. And heck, it made Emma reset from the character a lot of people wanted to hate to someone that, well, people hated because, season 5 sucked. So yeah, it was like, yeah, the administration completely screwed up. I know about that roof thing. It's like, how do you manage to keep the roof open? And basically, Darcy nearly killed herself off the roof. Dallas almost killed himself jumping off the roof. And Maya wanted to stay on the roof, wanted to jump off the roof, but then she couldn't because the drugs that she took effect on her. It's like, well, what are you going to do? Yeah, it's like, how do they keep the roof open? But anyway, yeah, like, the administration took a hefty price. Like, Raj got canned, rightfully so, but it was mostly because he ignored Rick's pleas for help and all that. I mean, Raj probably might have went to a hearing and basically told them that Rick never said the magic word bullying. And I mean, he had a point. And heck, CTV stupidly did not show the deleted scene that he was talking to Alex and Marco, who were part of student council, and basically said that, to his knowledge, the police and the school board hadn't brought anything up with him. So basically, he's saying that if the police and the school board had any inklings, then basically they would have told him, and he probably would have thought twice. Like, maybe he was blaming the school board and the police, saying that, if they had a problem with it, why didn't they talk to me about it? But then again, Raj was out the door. Okay, so, there's some negligence and all that. People said that they liked Snake, but basically when he became principal, things went downhill. Someone even said, hell, at every Degrassi school function, something goes down, and you would think the principal would learn their lesson and hire extra security/chaperones. Because a lot of these events, like, you don't really see adults at, like, dances and all that. And basically, there are dances and there's a lot of issues and all that. Paige and Manny fighting in season 4. What other dance things? Like Fitz wanting to destroy Eli because he was with Claire. Well, Eli was with Claire on Vegas night, the same time as Holly J and Sav were doing their striptease, and basically walked away. Basically, we're not protecting the other students and all that, and Allie and Drew in the boiler room. You know, Simpson said that basically, you know, screwed up. Now Simpson, I think, only cracked down on things after Vegas night because he was worried he was going to lose his job, and basically the school board was in his ear. But basically, yeah, Simpson overdid it or underdid it. Like there was no middle ground with this guy at times. Yeah, they said a lot of people said administrative negligence was one of the running themes of Degrassi Junior High, which led to the school catching fire. Well, it was an old school, and basically, but you could also blame Scooter and Tessa because they were playing tag and they were closing doors and opening doors and all that, and that led to the fire spreading throughout the school and burning down Degrassi Junior High. And the school caught fire because of the Bollywood theme prom, and basically Marco screwed up with the decorations and all that. Yeah. Yeah. But someone even said they wanted it to be a show where the kids dealt with their own problems. But that doesn't make sense in all that. For me, the negligence of the administration was huge. I did two unpopular opinions, which I will link to in the description of this video. Basically talking about what would I be talking about? One of them was that the punishments were either too severe or not severe enough. And basically, the principals and their mistakes and all that. Can't really think of it off the top of my head right now, but regardless, it's like, the administration screwed up and all that. Like, they were either too lenient or too harsh and all that. Every principal had their downfall in the Degrassi next gen to next class phase from 1 to 18. I mean, everyone says, well, Radich punished Spitter with the ADD pill, but that actually was a decent punishment. And that's true. I mean, Spitter without the ADD pill, but they only mentioned that problem once in season 1, and that's it. Spitter was basically didn't have the ADD issues. But like Spitter, could have saved his butt by saying that he gave the pill to Jimmy. Spitter would have still been in trouble, but basically, Radich would have told Coach Armstrong about Jimmy. Like I thought Spitter one time told Jimmy that, I'm your friend. I didn't tell on you when you took the ADD pill for basketball. But season 2 was Radich's downfall because, in a sense, the whole genetically modified foods thing happened. I know Emma deserves some flack from me, and I'm not completely defending Emma. Like Emma should have known about genetically modified foods and the problems with how schools do with budgets and all that. Because teenagers don't understand that the schools need certain money to run, and then basically the budgets get cut depending on the stupid education minister of Ontario and all that, like finances and all that. I mean, if Emma accepted that, I think she would have been fine. And Emma was going to concede after having her flyers taken away by Radich. Radich didn't punish her further. He just took away her flyers, and Emma was willing to concede. And then that calf commercial, I think she basically thought that Radich was just laughing at her, and she basically decides to confront the calf and starts the food fight incidentally. And then Radich basically said this is because of your flyers, but no, it was because of opportunity for a food fight. And basically Radich was wrong in his thinking. And basically Emma protests off school grounds. She should not be in trouble, but Radich basically is upset that Emma is undermining him. And decides to tell Emma that basically you apologize for everything that's gone on at the public address system or you're suspended for a week. And Emma decides to take the high road. But then she's like, genetically modified foods. I don't care if you like them or hate them. That's not the problem. The problem is free speech. And basically, she outs Radish and basically says, if this is worth taking a week's suspension, I'm all for it. And, Radish is upset because, Emma refused to buckle to him, for one thing. And another thing is that she has told the students about Radish's policies. And now Radish probably thinks in the back of his head that basically the students will use this to try to take over the school in front of him. So he has to change his tone a bit to basically say who's in charge. Season 3 with the whole Breakfast Club thing. I mean, I've warmed up to that episode. That actually was a much better episode than I anticipated because it brought Jimmy and Hazel as a friendship. Sean and Ellie. Poor Toby, he's the odd one out. But basically, yeah, it actually worked out that way, like the friendships and all that. I mean, they all got in trouble and put in detention for stuff that is detention worthy. I mean, Raj had a grudge against Sean and all that. I think Raj put Sean in detention for 8 Saturdays. I mean, 8 Saturdays because basically, he stole the stuff and basically it was to punish him for that. And basically for getting in his face. Hazel was in trouble for looking at illegal sites on the computer, which is a detentionable offense. Like, she deserved it. Jimmy and Toby got in trouble because they wanted to change Jimmy's grades on the school computer. I mean, Toby was doing it from his laptop and it broke down, and then Jimmy says, you have to finish the job at the school computer. And basically, Toby does that and gets caught and then fingers Jimmy too. And Ellie got in trouble because she skipped classes on purpose because she needed something for a newspaper article. I mean, Radish could have been blamed for putting Ellie in there as a spy, but it was proven that Ellie was not a spy. And Radish got lucky. And then, of course, season 4 with this whole Rick situation, all that. It's not enough that basically he let Rick back into the school and ticked off the students that basically he's turning a blind eye to Rick for what he did to Terry. It's also his tickiness towards Emma. When Emma says that to Radish's face, we don't want him at this school. And Radish says, this is not one of your stupid causes. Or crusades, pardon. Stay out of this. You could tell that, Radish is tired of Emma's crusades and all that. And basically, that genetically modified foods thing still stuck in his mind. And I think he had a grudge in Emma at the back of his mind. And if Snake had known that, Snake would have definitely wanted Raj gone because Raj has an open grudge against a student. I think Snake would have been on Emma's side, even if Emma wasn't his stepdaughter. But still, I mean, Raj basically was just old school and a curmudgeon. And basically, he was jaded, as Vamp says. So basically, it was a comedy of errors, and basically a lot of factors got rid of Radish. And I keep thinking the school board may have had to pay Rick's parents off, and then one of the keys was that Radish had to be dismissed. But he got reassigned. Like, Radish could have been fired. Radish could have had his teaching license revoked. But the school board decided to reassign him. I think they wanted to give him a bad punishment. And in my mind, Radish basically didn't take the demotion well and basically said, you know what? I'm going to give him an easy choice. I'm going to quit. I'm going to leave now. But I think the school board probably was trying to force him out by giving him a bad position. But I guess he didn't take it well. Then you got Hatzalakos, the whole, she was a good principal. She was the best principal. But the worst part is how Peter got away with a lot of things with her in charge. Especially, taking a topless video of Manny and then shipping it to the whole school and basically not getting much except for detentions and all that. And how he got away with framing Sean for drugs and all that to keep a relationship with Emma going. And basically, Peter didn't receive punishment. Peter got in trouble, but that was for the street race. He had to do community service and all that crap. It's like, Peter never learned his lesson. And what about the time he kind of set Darcy up with Adams, that predator? I mean, Peter didn't know, but Peter should have got in trouble for that. Or Darcy should have probably just told Peter to get off. But Peter said that he needed a girlfriend because, Emma was being unfair to him. All that. Peter was crying wolf and all that. There was something called Peter and the Wolf. And a play and all that. But I mean, Hatzalackos, the problem with her is her parental instincts overshadowed her principal instincts, if you ask me. Because, I mean, honestly, if she was a principal first and a parent, then basically she would have expelled Peter, put him in a boarding school, and basically make him think about his trouble and all that. Now, a lot of people said that basically, Peter probably got out of trouble for the Sean thing by basically blaming Emma, saying that Emma kept me doing all this stuff and all that. But the thing that ticks me off is that, nobody told Hatzalackos about Peter's things. Emma should have went to Hatzalackos. Or, better yet, she should have told Peter, she says, you tell your mom about everything, or I will. And basically, Peter would have had little choice. But Peter might have twisted the words around still, too. But Emma should have told Hatzalackos about it. Snake even wanted to tell Hatzalackos about all this stuff. But Sean said it's worthless. Because, Hatzalackos is Peter's mom. And basically, Sean thought he was not going to get a fair trial. But I think he should have tried. Because Snake and Emma would have stuck it in Hatzalackos' head and all that. Like, I know, it's like, how the hell can Hatzalackos be a good principal and that, and put her parental duties over her principal duties? But then again, Peter's dad is kind of a scumbag, giving his son an expensive car on a 16th birthday, and that's why they went on that street race. I mean, the chef, his biggest problem was basically, not starting any conflicts. The major conflict he did was basically he wanted to make Degrassi into Lakehurst because he was the Lakehurst principal before it burned down, and basically he didn't come in season 7. Season 8, he came up as a new principal when Hatzalackos left for Regina. And then basically, he favored the popular crowd over the geeks and all that. Sav was upset that he named Polly J class president before an election even happened. And then basically Shep gave Sav the vice president job to shut him up. It took Claire and the anger towards the video for Principal of the Year. How the hell did he get Principal of the Year? I mean, honestly, he's only been in Degrassi for a few months. But my theory is that either it's just for the football team and all that, but of the year, you're not even starting a full school year. And maybe Hatzalackos was supposed to get the award, but they didn't want to give it to someone else, so they basically said, well, Hatzalackos' successor will get the job. Or maybe it was for what he did for Lakehurst, but he wasn't even there in the second half of the school year, the previous school year. So why they gave him Principal of the Year, I don't freaking know. It's always puzzling. But basically, yeah, Claire knew that Shep had some stupid policies, called her a bitch. I know that people will say, oh, well, Claire was a bitch anyway. But, I mean, still, that's pathetic. And basically, Shep got taken to, what's it called? Rehab for 2 weeks. Or 2 months or something like that. Simpson took over for a while. And then basically the students were not too happy with him coming back. But he found to be better. He didn't completely get better. And all that. And basically tells himself he can't be principal. And then thanks to Peter's drug problems, Hatzalackos comes back to be with Peter because he's all by himself because Mia's in Paris. And then she takes over as principal and then doesn't do a job and gives the keys to Simpson. And then the wheels fall off. Simpson had a lot of problems. Vegas Night was one of them. I mean, Mrs. Torres had a grudge against Snake because of Snake mishandling the whole Drew and hazing situation. So basically, she uses that as a platform to get Snake to shape up or ship out. And basically, Snake, tries to do his best, but Vegas Night ruins him. And basically, he goes overboard with the whole dress code and extracurriculars being banned and all that. And key cards. But I mean, what could Simpson do? So basically, yeah, he may have went over it. And Shantae made him realize what problems he had. But Simpson did say that if you keep behaving yourselves, the punishments will shrink and all that. Basically, you'll get everything back. And after a few seasons, poof, everything was back to normal in a sense. But yeah, Simpson basically was not a good principal. and all that. I mean, honestly, why? Like, they could have found another replacement for Simpson. This whole Degrassi Nudes situation. Like, thankfully, he didn't know too much about the nudes because, that's how he got back in next class, even though that a lot of people said that it was supposed to end after season 14. But basically, when it was renewed, when Netflix says, we're going to do Degrassi, then next class had to be done, and then they put Simpson in charge. But everyone knew that Pill was probably going to be just a temporary replacement. But Pill had it in her head. She said, if I could fix Degrassi, then I can be principal. I can stay on as principal. But she screwed up. Like, okay, the backpack policy, the cell phone policy, yes, I agree on her thing. I mean, the cameras thing could have worked, but she made it audio so that she can figure out what's going on, how the students are doing things. And it's like, that's an invasion of privacy. And Claire called her out on it and smashed off the cameras. Pill basically suspends her for the longest time possible without an expulsion. Basically, she was upset that Claire called her out. Pill had an ego. And then when Drew gets in trouble for his promposal, Drew was willing to play Pill's way. He was student council president, by the way. So he didn't go to the prom, but he was goaded on by his mom, and basically Dallas screwed up the prom, so they set it up at the dot. I thought it was at the school, but no, it was at the dot. I'm like, okay. And Pill basically told Drew that, did anyone else help you? You can out them right now, and you might not get in trouble. Drew says, I'm not doing that. And Pill says that you'll get your diploma soon, but you will not cross the stage. And I have to make sure that everyone next year plays by my rules. I have to set an example. So basically, the other graduating class members said, we love Drew, and basically, Pill relented because of Degrassi's togetherness. But of course, she gets replaced. Now, a lot of people, there's a lot of speculation that, she was only there for half a year, and basically, even if Simpson had screwed things up, they probably would have found another principal for her to replace her. But in my mind, I think that because of Mrs. Torres and her connection with the school board, and basically that she was Drew's mom, she knew that Pill was a bad person and was being an egomaniac. And so basically she wasn't completely responsible for Pill being fired. She probably told her higher ups about Pill's policies, and basically they agreed and said that they would investigate and get rid of Pill and basically not allow her to be renewed. The administration made a ton of mistakes, and they're not well liked for many reasons. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Thanks for watching this Degrassi video.